Such a kind introduction. What an honor to be the caboose today. Oh my goodness. I'm actually going to set that down and take it from here. So yes, we are in Baton Rouge, but we're actually going to transport 106 miles up the road to Pollock, Louisiana. Okay, you with me? So we're going to go from Baton Rouge, 106 miles up the road to Pollock, Louisiana, and we're going to flash back to 1991. Where were you in 1991? Or were you in 1991? So taking you back to Pollock, Louisiana, where in 1991, I was a 6-year-old first grader in Miss Merle's first grade class at Pollock Elementary. And when I say that Pollock, does anybody know where Pollock is? Has anybody ever heard of Pollock? Okay, so Pollock is about again, 106 miles from here, about 2.5 hours in the car. It's in Grant Parish, and it's about as big as this room. Like when I say small town, it's about as small town as a small town can small town. And so in Miss Merle's first grade class at Pollock Elementary, it probably comes as no surprise to you that someone who would grow up to become a time management coach might have had a little bit of a perfectionist streak as a kid. And I was a perfectionist more than any other area when it came to coloring. Okay, so we're talking like color pages in class, we're coloring worksheets, we're doing color by number, whatever it is. And I so badly wanted to be the best colorer in my first grade class. Big competitive streak too, let me tell you. But the thing is that my best friend Chrissy Clinton, happened to be the best colorer in the class. And not only was she consistently the best colorer, but Miss Merle had the audacity on more than one occasion to hold her color sheets up in front of the entire class to point out the quality and the precision of Chrissy's coloring. And every single time she did, my 6-year-old heart seethed with envy, because I so badly wanted her to hold my color sheet up as being perfect. And then one day, we were working on a cut and paste worksheet, okay? You might remember these. There were these worksheets where you would color something and then you would cut it out and then paste it onto something else. And so on this day, we were coloring these little strawberries and we were cutting out the strawberries and then pasting them onto a basket. Simple enough, right? Okay? And so I've decided this is it. This is the day. And so I've got my red crayon and I am meticulously coloring each of these little bitty strawberries. And I'm focusing so hard to stay in the lines and make sure that these strawberries were perfect. And I look over at Chrissy and lo and behold, she is scribbling all over her strawberries like a maniac. Like a maniac. And if I had pearls on, I would have clutched them. And I looked over at her and I said, Chrissy, what are you doing? You're scribbling all over your strawberries. And you know what she did? She looked at me and she said, but we're just gonna cut them out. But we're just gonna cut them out. And she was right. There I was, spending so much time and effort and energy trying to color these little strawberries perfectly within the lines when we were just gonna cut them out. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. And so that day, I learned 3 very important lessons that, funny enough, have traveled with me all the way from first grade in Miss Merle's class in 1991 to my days now as a business owner. First, coloring inside the lines is not all that it's cracked up to be. And I'm gonna bet that if you're in this room, you know a thing or two about coloring outside of the lines, because that is what entrepreneurs do each and every single day. If all we did was color inside the lines, we wouldn't be entrepreneurs. Next, I learned that taking the time to see how others approach their work can actually save you time in the long run. I was so focused on what I was doing that I didn't even stop to see that Christy had a pretty good best practice over there. And I could save time too if I adopted her methods. But the third lesson that I learned can actually be stated so much better by Peter Drucker, management consultant. And it's this: there is nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which should not be done at all. I'm gonna say it one more time for you because this one's good. There is nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which should not be done at all. I mean, how many times have you caught yourself caught up in organizing for the sake of organizing, or spending time on something that, wait, do I need to be doing this at all? And the thing is that back in 1991 in that first grade class, I was so concerned about how I was using this tool, a crayon. I was so concerned about my crayon that I wasn't stopping to think about how I could use that tool in combination with another tool. How I could use a crayon and scissors to save myself so much time, energy, and effort. And when it comes to automation, I mean, that's really what it is, right? It's getting this tool to talk to this tool in order to save us time, energy, time, energy, and effort. And so now that you know that in 1991, I was a first grader in Miss Merle's class, my name is Anna Dearmon Kornick, and I'm a time management coach. Certainly when I was a first grader, I didn't know that one day I would become a time management coach, because clearly that was not a thing back then. But over the last few years that I've really focused on working with busy professionals and business owners, helping them spend more time on what matters most, I have stepped into becoming a top 1% podcast host, and most recently last year, an author. My book, Time Management Essentials, came out on World Productivity Day last year, and although I wasn't able to carry boxes of books into this building myself, I'm happy to pop the trunk of my car if anybody wants to get together after this so you can get a copy. But in addition to being a time management coach, a podcast host, and an author, there are a few more roles that I have in my life. And I'm sure the same's for you too. We're so much more than what's on our business card. So in addition to being a time management coach, I am also a wife, I am a mom, and I am a sister. Like many of you in this room, I am an entrepreneur, which means I am also an insomniac, and I have anxiety, and I'm doing my best on a regular basis. I'm also a community volunteer. The way that I spend my time is multifaceted, and the different roles that I wear on a day-to-day basis, like you, those hats change almost constantly. And just like we all wear more than one hat at any given moment and play many different roles, there are 3 roles that exist in every business. And so I'd love for you to listen in as I tell you about these 3 roles and see where you fall in your business. So the first role is a technician. Then we have an integrator. And then finally, a visionary. I'd love to know, one hand up, have you heard of all 3 of these roles? Okay, yes, awesome. We've got, okay, wonderful. If you've never heard of all 3 of these roles, raise your other hand. Yes, this is gonna be so much fun. Okay, so 3 roles in every business: technician, integrator, visionary. Let's dive into each one. So the first role that exists in every business is called a technician. So a technician is the doer of the things. A technician is often in those functional roles like marketing, finance, sales, human resources, IT. They are executing the major functions, so they're creating the communication strategy, or they are executing the communication strategy. They're doing the work, and they are scheduling the posts into the social media scheduler. They are making the sales calls. They are doing the bookkeeping. They are doing the technical work. So how many of you show up as a technician in your business? Okay. Yeah. So next up is our integrator. So integrator is a term popularized by the book Traction, written by Gino Wickman. If you have never read Traction by Gino Wickman, highly recommend you add it to the top of your reading list. So an integrator typically has a title like CEO, president, general manager, COO. And the thing you need to know about the integrator is that they are running things. Like they are overseeing all of the different departments, and they are integrating all of the different functions. They're making sure that IT talks to HR. They're making sure that sales and marketing are aligning on messaging. They're also managing the technicians, and they're very accountability driven. Have you followed through with this? Can we confirm that we have done this? So, who shows up as the integrator in their business? Yeah, okay, we got some integrators. And the last role that exists in every business is the visionary. Now, a lot of times when I hear the word visionary, I tend to think of Steve Jobs in his black turtleneck and his dad jeans up on stage, being all visionary as he is. So the visionary in an organization is future focused. They're typically a culture-oriented idea factory. They set the future path for an organization. They're often very emotional and passionate about their business and the services or the products that they provide or the consumers that they serve. So, where are my visionaries in the room? I love it. In a typical organization, large scale, this is what that org chart is going to look like. You're going to have a visionary up at the top who is then giving orders to that integrator, who is then coordinating and overseeing the technicians. Now that's what it typically looks like in a large organization. But just like I saw many of you raising your hands 3 times, in a lot of businesses it looks like this, where the visionary is the integrator, is the technician. And the wonderful thing about the visionary being the integrator, being the technician, is that everyone's pretty much on the same page. You're pretty much on the same page with yourself, which is good. But the downside is that it's really easy to get stuck in one of these 3 roles and to spend most of your time there. So in order to truly become the smooth operator that you are here today to be, you have to spend your time being the visionary. Because again, what often happens is that we started our businesses. We broke into this whole entrepreneurship thing because we had a skill or a service or a passion to do something. And a lot of times we can get caught up in the doing of the things and the drafting of the marketing and the doing the sales calls and adding things to the calendar and all of the little bitty tasks. So much so that we don't have the space for ourselves carved out to spend time in that critical visionary mode, charting the future, thinking about what's ahead, letting yourself daydream and have all of those big ideas that become the next big thing in your business. And so, like I said, in order to become a smooth operator and master automation, you have to have more time in visionary mode. And so today, we're gonna cover 3 things. The 3 roles that exist in every business, boom, done, check that one off the list. Then we're going to talk about your 4-part visionary toolbox. The 4 tools that every visionary needs in order to reclaim their time. And then finally, I'm going to walk you through 3 ways that you can truly reclaim your time so that you can spend more time in that so important visionary mode. So I want you to think for a second about the last week or the last 2 weeks. Maybe you think about your calendar, maybe you think about your to-do list. So how do we often spend our time? Distracted, yeah. What else comes to mind? I mean, a lot of times we're multitasking, we're switching back and forth from different things. We're checking Instagram, and then we're replying to an email, and then we're updating a proposal, and then we're texting with daycare because you need to send more pull-ups for your toddler, and then your mom calls. Maybe that's just me. But we spend our time so incredibly distracted, doing low-impact work, getting stuck in technician mode, and kind of randomly choosing what to do next, planning our day based on what we feel like doing, and getting caught up in all of those little things. 2 hours. I want to know, what would you do with an extra 2 hours in the day? Anybody? Extra 2 hours. Sleep. Me too. Nap. What else? 2 hours.
I'd work on my social media.
Love that. You'd work on social media, something that you've been neglecting in your business, okay? Anybody over here want to tell me how you would spend an extra 2 hours in your day?
Spend more time outside in nature.
Love it. More time in nature. Would anybody go work out? Yeah? Would anybody, again, my mind just goes back to napping because that's what I would do. So, 2 hours is the amount of time the average American computer worker spends every day looking for things to do their work. Okay, so let me say that one more time. 2 hours, the average American computer worker, okay, so y'all, because y'all work on your laptops, laptop warriors, spends an average of 2 hours a day searching for stuff. Googling something real quick, looking for that file, trying to find that graphic you created last week in Canva. We spend an average of 2 hours a day just looking for stuff. That is wild. Think about what you could do with that time. And so how should we be spending our time? We should be spending our time in the zone, in a state of flow. I know y'all know what that feels like. And doing things that only you do best, doing what only you can do. Those genius zone activities, those items on your to-do list that you don't dread because they make your heart sing. Those things that are the reason why you started your business in the first place. But to get there, to truly get there, we've got to make sure that we've got the right tools in place. So let's dive into the 4 tools that every visionary must have. So those 4 tools, quick overview, are a calendar, shocker, a capture tool, can't wait to tell you about that one, a tool for collaboration, and a tool that you can use to corral. And I do not recommend an actual lasso. That will not work for this purpose. Calendar, capture, collaboration, corral. We'll start with calendar because that's my favorite because I'm a time management coach. And this one's going to be fairly obvious. So I'm going to bet this is something that most of you already have in your visionary toolbox. But to give a couple pointers when choosing a calendar, I highly recommend using a calendar that is digital, shareable, that you can access from a desktop, from an app on your phone, for a tablet, that is in the cloud, so that you can access it literally anywhere with ease. Great examples here, Google Calendar, Outlook, iCal. Out of curiosity, where are my Google Calendar people? Yeah? Yes? Okay. Where are my Outlook folks? A lot of great stuff with Outlook. I used Outlook for years. Anybody use iCal? All right. Any other ones I didn't mention? Okay.
Because it puts all of my calendars on one calendar, which is so wonderful.
Got it. So we're going to talk about motion in just a bit. Motion is like an AI assistant that is an aggregate of all of your calendars. That's wonderful. Okay, thank you. So when it comes to having a calendar, the way that you can think about your calendar is not just, yes, obviously, a place to keep track of time and your appointments, but to instead think of your calendar as a personal assistant. How many of you have a personal assistant? Okay, we got one. Awesome, love having a personal assistant. But if you do not have a personal assistant, you can set your calendar up to be that personal assistant for you. And so until you're a big baller and you can have your own assistant, you can use your calendar to do that for you. Your calendar can remind you of where you need to be and when. Your calendar can communicate with your husband, your wife, your partner, your kids about where they need to be and when. I have had clients who have said that getting onto a shared calendar system has saved communication in their marriage because there is no more question about who is picking up the kids and taking them to soccer practice after school. It's on the calendar. We don't have to talk about it, it's on the calendar. No excuses. So, calendar, boom. We all have calendars. Next up, capture. Who here has heard of a capture tool? Awesome, yes. So a capture tool, this is essentially a place to put things. This is a place to capture your ideas, your to-dos, your projects, and your files. Y'all, we are constantly swimming with ideas and thoughts and things to do. And until you have a specific place for those thoughts and things and to-dos to live, they are going to take up space in your head, and they are going to slow you down. It's like a computer with too many tabs open. So when it comes to having a capture tool, I recommend having a high-tech tool and a low-tech tool. High-tech is something digital, something that lives in the cloud, something that you can access from anywhere, and I'm going to share some examples in a bit. And a low-tech tool like a notebook, a notepad, a legal pad, something where you can take pen to paper notes when you need to. But the pitfall here is that sometimes we can think, oh, well, if having 2 capture tools makes me organized, well, surely having 7 will make me even more organized. I'm gonna have a different notebook for all of my different clients, and then I'm gonna use this tool for this thing, and I'm gonna put my marketing over here, and the next thing we know, we can't even remember where we put that Post-it note that we wrote that thing on last Tuesday. So the fewer the better. The more tools you have, the more confusing it gets. And when it gets confusing, you can't trust the system. And when you can't trust the system, you don't use the system. So you want to be crystal clear about the purpose of each of your capture. Now here are those examples I told you about. Google Drive, that's a capture tool for files, obviously. Dropbox, yes. If you are not using some type of cloud-based file storage system, get on that now. Something like Trello, which is also an amazing project management tool, or Asana, which is my capture tool of choice. Apps like GoodNotes, Paper, are also awesome for taking handwritten notes on a tablet. Google Keep, Evernote, also really awesome examples. There is no best tool for this. So if you came here looking for specific tools, that's not what we're here for. Instead, you get to choose your own adventure. You get to pick what's best for you. My favorite is Asana. I live and die by stuff saved in Asana. And then I have a handy dandy sugar paper notebook from Target with gold coil binding and this light blue and white striped cover and this amazing thick paper because I am a paper snob and don't care who knows it. Every single time I go to Target, I buy every single one on the shelf because it's just that good. And I'm that passionate about it. So after that, we've got our collaboration tool. So what exactly is a collaboration tool? Well, in a nutshell, it's a way to communicate with your team. Now, if you're thinking, but Anna, I'm a team of 1 right now. I don't have a huge team. Well, come on. You are like on the verge of becoming the next big business owners in Baton Rouge. If you don't have a team now, you will. And chances are you'll start with contractors. You'll start with an intern. And you've got to have a method of communicating with the people that you are collaborating with that isn't just email. Because email is where communication goes to die. And so, ideally, a collaboration tool is going to be accessible on a desktop and an app of some sort. It's going to have file sharing enabled. You're going to have timestamps. It's going to have group messaging. It's going to have direct messaging. You're going to be able to leave comments. And some really great examples here. Trello, Asana, Basecamp, Monday.com, another great option. Slack, amazing communications tool. Microsoft folks, you've got Teams. You've got everything in that Microsoft suite to work with. But in my business, we use Asana for project management, and we use Slack for team communication and file sharing. Again, it's not just about focusing on the crayon. It's thinking about how you can use your tools in combination. So you want to have a tool that is meant for collaboration. And now we gotta have something to corral, a place for all of the physical action items until we can take action on them. So as much as we live in a technological, digital world, we still get stuff in the mail. We still get papers, we still get flyers, we still get leaflets, we still get permission slips that come home from school. We have paper stuff that we have to keep track of. And the dining room table that hasn't seen a meal in 7 years is not the ideal corral tool. That spot, you know what I'm talking about? That spot on your kitchen island that's like this tall covered with mail, that is not a corral tool. However, something as simple as a filing cabinet, an old school filing cabinet for real, a desk tray, or even an empty Amazon box, y'all, can serve as a corral tool if you give it a specific purpose. I dub the Amazon box my corral tool. And all of a sudden, you now have a consistent place to put things that you're going to take action on later. Another great option for a corral tool, or a great concept for a corral tool, is to have a consistent home for your most utilized tools. So let's say every week you sit down to do a weekly planning session. And you know that in order to have a good weekly planning session, you need your fitness meal plan, you need the kids' soccer schedule, you need your laptop, you need a cup of coffee, you need your highlighters, you need your favorite notebook. Well, you can corral all of that in a special bag or in a special drawer to have all of those tools that you need when you need them right there ready to go. So before we move on, we're gonna stop for a second because I wanna make sure that you identify, before we move on to the next phase, your next step. Which of these 4 tools do you need to spend some time with? Which of these 4 tools do you need to make sure is represented in your visionary toolbox? Do you need to take some time to explore a collaboration tool? Do you need to finally bite the bullet and install Slack? What's it gonna be? So make sure that you identify that specific action item before we move on. I'm gonna give you a second to do that. All right, seconds up. Now, let's reclaim our time. Let's take it back. We're gonna take it back from all the minutia. We're gonna take it back from all the distraction. We're gonna take it back from the interruptions and the lack of focus and the low impact tasks. And I'm gonna give you 3 ways to do that. The first thing we're gonna do is eliminate. And I'm taking you back to 1991 for that one too. Eliminate, we're gonna automate, and we're gonna delegate. We're gonna eliminate, we're gonna automate, and we're gonna delegate. Taking you back to 91 with Chrissy and what I learned, that there is nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which should not be done at all. Now you might be thinking, Anna, everything I do is important. Everything I do has a place on my to-do list. I would challenge you to take a look at the last week in your life, or in the next week, 2 weeks, to track your time. Literally, write down every single thing that you do over the course of the week. Review that mile-long to-do list you've got, and then I'm going to challenge you to cut 10%. 10%. And the thing is that, you know what, you may not be able to find 10% that you can truly get rid of. That just might be the way things are right now. But the very act of carefully considering all of the things that are taking up your time is going to be eye-opening for you. Y'all, your time is precious. I'm not gonna go super into it, but y'all, like, we've got one life to live. We're not promised tomorrow. I do not want anyone in this room wasting their one wild and precious life, like sorting email into folders. We are made for so much more than that. So delete, unsubscribe, cancel, quit things that aren't serving you. Whoever said quitters never win was wrong. Quitters do win because they're clear on their priorities and they take back their time as their own. You get an invitation that doesn't align with your goals, decline it. Recommend somebody else. So we're gonna eliminate. Next up, automation, because I know that's what y'all came here for. And a lot of times when I think about automation, I tend to think about these really complicated, like, have you ever seen like a video of a car assembly line where there's all these like big parts and everything's like coming together and it looks really wild and complicated. And so I think a lot of times automation can seem kind of like a scary thing. Like, wait, how do I just put things on autopilot? This seems scary. I get it, but it doesn't have to be scary. So there are three, like looking back at those 4 tools that we talked about, I'm gonna walk you through a few different strategies to incorporate automation into your calendar tool, your collaboration tool, and that capture tool. So first up, let's talk calendar. Who here uses a scheduling link to schedule meetings and activities? All right, love that, 10 points for y'all. I highly recommend if you are someone who is currently your own assistant and you are scheduling meetings for yourself, take some of that pressure off, cut back on the back and forth of emails, and create a scheduling link for yourself. You can actually do this natively in Google now, Google Workspace now too, I believe. I'm a big fan of Calendly. I've used Acuity in the past, but taking just this act of scheduling off your plate is going to give you so much time back. Also, checking out an AI assistant like Motion or Asana that can aggregate your multiple calendars. So let's say you've got a work calendar and a family calendar, and you have a side gig calendar, and you have all these different calendars, and they're not talking to each other. You can bring those all under one program, like Motion or Asana, input your priorities, and it will basically tell you what you should do and when, based on time blocks and approximately how long things will take you. If you've ever struggled to figure out what to do next or how to schedule your day, using a tool like Motion and Asana is kind of like training wheels for doing this yourself. It kind of gets you into that groove. It takes that effort off of you. Also, who has heard of Zapier? Yes, wonderful. Okay, Zapier. You can, kind of like my crayon and my scissors, they can work better together. You can use Zapier to connect your calendar with so many other tools using integrations. You can set up Zapier to create a task in your project management system anytime a new appointment is scheduled on your calendar. You can set up Zapier to add a new line to a spreadsheet every time a new appointment is scheduled on your calendar. You can update an email segment in your email management system anytime someone schedules an appointment with you. This is something that I use often. If someone schedules a free time management coaching call with me, they automatically get tagged in ConvertKit, which is my email management software, with discovery call. So I know that they have scheduled a discovery call. Looking at our collaboration tools, scheduling messages within Slack, within your email, gives you the ability to be in 2 places at once, to draft a message at 1 a.m. when you've got entrepreneur insomnia, but not have it send until 8:30 when all the normal people are awake. You can do this in Slack. You can do this in your email. You can do this in a number of different programs. Automated workflows. I use a program called Dubsado to manage my speaker inquiries, my contracts, my questionnaires, my testimonials, everything from start to finish. And I barely have to lift a finger because there are workflows and templates programmed within this system. Dubsado, 17 Hats, Honeybook, also examples. So if you're someone who regularly has people sign contracts and fill out questionnaires and go through a process, and then you want a testimonial, you want to automate as much of that as possible. You can do that with programs like Dubsado. Again, if we're going back to those Zapier integrations, you can program your collaboration tool to send automatic Slack messages. Every single time someone schedules a discovery call, boom, I get a Slack message letting me know. Every time someone reschedules a coaching call, I get a Slack message letting me know. It's right there. The possibilities really are endless. And then using your capture tool. To save time, in programs like Asana or Trello, instead of recreating the wheel every single time you have a new project or a new to-do, in one click of a button, you can create a task template. So that every time you onboard a new client, you click one button and every single task associated with onboarding is there. Same with offboarding. Same with your delivery, your service or your project delivery. Zapier integrations, again, I keep going back to Zapier because it can do so many amazing things. If you want to save time, get acquainted with Zapier. Also, I have become very familiar with dictation in the last few weeks after breaking my wrist, because only in the last 2 days have I actually been able to type, which is really tough as a podcaster who writes episodes. And so dictation tools, recording videos with Loom. Again, who here has used Loom? Love Loom to put yourself in two places at once. I mean, you think about training new team members. If you're bringing on an intern, if you're bringing on a contractor who's going to take over certain things in your business, sure, you can tell them every single time how something is done, or you can record yourself doing it so they now have a library of videos to watch on how to send this type of email, how to update this type of project, and you basically double yourself. Other options for automation, any way that you can automate your savings, because we as entrepreneurs really need to have that safety net, your retirement contributions, shopping, bill pay, scheduled reminders to keep you where you need to be and when, and using things like filters and rules to cut down the time you spend putting emails into folders. Finally, a few last automation options for your personal life. Again, Gmail filters, Outlook rules, automating your bill pay as much as possible. Get your hands out of that. Using Subscribe and Save to deliver tools to your house so that you don't have to go to the store and waste time in Baton Rouge traffic. We don't want to do that. Meal kits. There is a subscription for literally everything now, so take advantage of it. And then finally, how can we pass the baton to others? Because as your business grows, you're going to incorporate more and more people. So here are 5 simple steps to delegating processes in your business. First, make a list of what you want to delegate that is going to give you your time back. And then once you've made that list, step 2, you're going to prioritize it. Which of these activities, if taken off of your plate, is going to give you the most bang for your buck? That might be in terms of money that you save, money that you earn, or time that you get back. Third, tighten up your processes. Make sure that you are crystal clear on how to get from point A to point B in these tasks, and then capture those processes with a checklist and screen record using Loom. And then finally, organize your training materials into an Asana board, a Trello board, or into an easy-to-grab Google folder. Options for delegation: we live in a college town. Get you an intern. Virtual assistants. My virtual assistants live in Florida and Texas. Hire someone locally or find a project-based freelancer. There are also tons of opportunities to delegate in your personal life, which is something that we often forget about. So have your groceries delivered. Get that time back. Stop assembling your own furniture. Hire someone from TaskRabbit. Take advantage of local concierge services if you can. And when you're a big baller, hire a house manager or a family assistant to take over a lot of those day-to-day home-related tasks. All right, y'all, what's your next step? Get very clear on what your next step is. And as you're getting clear on this next step, I've got one question for you. And that question is, did you learn anything of value today? Really, like anything of value, because if there is anything that you are taking away today that you are going to implement, I'm going to invite you to pull out your phone and take a picture of that QR code right there, and it's going to ask you to enter a code, and your code is 7, because what I've got for you is a 7-step guide to doing less and living more that will actually walk you through a more in-depth process of eliminating, automating, and delegating so you can truly reclaim your time in a way that you can make it stick long term. So, y'all, thank you so much for taking the time to share your feedback. I'll pop this right back up in case that's helpful for you. Today, we talked about the 3 rules that exist in every business. You learned the 4 tools that must be in your visionary toolbox, and you now know 3 ways that you can reclaim your time. So, my friends, I encourage you to take this today and be that smooth operator. Take all of this, be the visionary, create that time for yourself, and I'm gonna stick around for a little bit longer. So if you have any questions, if you want to talk through anything, or if you want to get a copy of my book, I can hook you up.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please give it up for Anna.